Okay, so in this section, we're going to review what you learned in elementary school about perimeter and area. We'll dive a lot deeper into perimeter, area, circumference at the end of the year when we do 2 chapters on volume, surface area, all that kind of stuff. So this is just a very basic introduction or reminder, I guess, of perimeter and area. Remember, you don't have to memorize formulas. You get a formula sheet, but I don't tell you what formulas go to what shape, so you do need to know that part. So perimeter, we're actually not going to learn a formula for because you don't need to add to any of, or the huge list of formulas that we have already. So what could you say to describe how to find the perimeter of any polygon? Yeah. We just add all sides. Yes, there are formulas in your book. Ignore them if you look at the beginning of the section, because all I want you to do is to add up all sides. Because that works for every polygon. Okay, I should have had dashes here, so add them, please. You really don't need to show work for perimeter, because all you're doing is adding, so I want you to just tell me what the perimeter is for these 3 shapes. What's the first one? 16. Don't forget units. Units are important in this section. This one? 17. Okay, what does regular mean? And? So all equal sides and all equal angles. The sides being the important one on the perimeter question. So what do we get for perimeter here? Okay, you're done answering questions for the hour. Okay, questions on perimeter? Okay, another way to say perimeter when you're involving circles is the word circumference. Hey, remember, circles aren't polygons, so they're going to follow a little bit different rule, and they do have a formula. Anyone remember the formula for circumference? Isn't it like pi r squared or something? Pi r squared is area. We'll get to that on the next slide, so don't forget that one. Anyone remember circumference? It does have pi in it. Take a guess. No brave souls. Pi d is one of them. What does d stand for? Diameter. What's the other one? Any ideas now that you've seen this one? Has a 2 in it. Yes, pretty much, but just in a different order. 2 pi r. Why are those the same? Yeah. Because r is just half of it. Exactly, of the diameter. So if you take the radius and you times it by 2, you get the diameter. Okay, so you can use them interchangeably. Usually we use the one with whatever object they give us. What object do we have here? No. What is this one? No one else is answering. So whichever object they give you, radius or diameter, that's the formula you want to use. Now remember, in my class, you always have 3 lines of work whenever you are involving a formula. And this goes from here until the end of May when we're done. Okay, so we need to write the formula first. If they gave us the radius like they did in the first one, let's use the one that has the radius in the formula. Always step 1 to write the formula. What is step 2? Put the numbers in that we know. And the last step is to give the answer. Now, you do need to use your pi button on these. So if you are one of the responsible kids and has their calculator already, like I asked you to, you're going to need to get familiar with using that pi button. If you don't have a calculator yet, because you're going to get one this weekend, you need to enter all the way up to this black line here on the poster, 3.14159. That guarantees that you get the same answer as your friends who are using their pi button. So if you have the calculator, the TI-30X, that most of you have. You don't need multiplication in between these. You can literally just put 2 pi 3 and hit equals. What should everybody get? What number do you have on your calculator? 18.84. Okay, we'll go with 18.8. There aren't units on the picture, so you don't need units on your answer. So always check that. Okay, the next one, they gave us the diameter, so let's use the diameter formula. First step, formula. Second step, put the numbers in. Third step, the answer. Again, no units, so we don't need units on the answer. This is as difficult as it's going to get as far as perimeter and circumference go. Can we handle that? Yes. We can move on to area. Okay. Anyone still need this? Okay, here are your 3 area formulas. Base times height, 1/2 base times height, and pi r squared. Okay, on the formula sheet, I don't have what's written on the left, the actual shapes that go with it. Okay, but the formulas are available for you in a long list. So this is review from elementary school. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to have 3 lines of work underneath each picture with the appropriate formula and the right numbers put in with the correct answer. You're not waiting for me to do the problems for you. You're attempting all 4 problems. And I want to see the 3 lines of work. On every single one. Don't forget units at the end. And make sure you're using the correct formulas. In order to get full credit, you need to have these 3 lines of work on the test so that I can see what's going on inside of your brain. If you just have an answer, I have to assume that you don't know what you're doing and you happen to magically get the answer maybe from a neighbor. But to get full credit, I need to see the work, which is a change for some of you from last year. So your work should match what I have up here so far. I don't have the numbers put in yet, but I have it all set up to get the correct answers. Remember when you're doing units that they are squared when you have area? Because you're working in 2 dimensions. That's what the 2 means. So I believe everyone got the first one right as I was walking around and looking at everybody's work. What 2 numbers should I use for number 2 for the base and the height? Yes. Why do we pick 12 and 5? Well, so how do you know that they're the base and the height, though? What tells you that those are the 2 you should use? It is the box in the corner. What is the math word that I'm looking for is how these 2 lines intersect each other? Somebody new. It starts with a P. When you have a right angle or a square in the corner, the 2 lines are what? Not parallel, opposite of parallel. Perpendicular. Base and height must be perpendicular. Okay, so you're always looking for that square in the corner so you know which 2 numbers to pick. Okay, so you should get 30 here. A few of you made a mistake on the next one, a very common mistake. We need the radius, correct? So you should have 4.5 there, not 9. 9 is the diameter. So if you made that error, you want to go back and erase that and put 4.5 in there. What do we get when we put that in the calculator? Somebody who hasn't answered yet today, offer up the number. Yes. What answers is everybody else getting? I've heard 3 different answers. Is that what we're getting?
I got 63.6.
That's what I thought it was. You guys need to be confident in your answers. Okay. If you didn't get that answer, try re-entering it in your calculator so that you do get the right answer, so you know how to find the area of a circle. The last one, I gave you 4 numbers. We need to pick the right base and height based on what I wrote in blue up there. They have to be perpendicular. So what 2 are perpendicular? Hmm? Yes. Okay, this square wasn't on your notes, but you want to add that. I should have had that square there. So 6, 4.1, which is 12.3 centimeters squared. So make sure your 4 answers look just like this so that you can get a perfect score on the test. Questions before our last slide? Need 3 lines of work in order to get full credit. We have 3 word problems on the last page that are going to require a picture first and then showing work. So I'll show you what I mean by that. The perimeter of a regular pentagon. What does regular mean? Yep. Yes. So do your best in drawing a regular pentagon. All 5 sides congruent, all 5 angles congruent. And you need to mark it so that it is a regular pentagon with the proper dashes and arcs. So that's part of your answer. They told us that the perimeter is 35 centimeters. And they want to know one side. What's the math, the showing work that I would need to put down to get this answer right? Yep. And make sure your units are on there as well. 7 centimeters. If all 5 sides are the same, you can just divide perimeter by the number of sides. Perimeter of a rectangle. So as soon as you see what shape they're talking about, you're going to want to draw the picture. Okay, a rectangle has 4 right angles. One side, the perimeter is 20 inches. One side is 8 inches long, which means the side opposite that side is also 8 inches long. And we don't know the length of the other side. So let's put our variables here. We want to turn this into algebra. So you have the picture. Turn it into algebra, because I don't want the answer. I know some of you can figure this out in your head, but you can't get full credit unless you show your work. So what's the equation we could set up? Because we know the total perimeter. Mm-hmm.
E minus 16 equals x.
Yes, we will end up doing that, but what's the very basic original equation? How do we find perimeter? This shows me that you know right here that perimeter is just adding up all your sides. So I want to see that. Okay, from there you can simplify and solve for x, which is where we're going to subtract from 16, like you said. Subtract 16 from it. And then we can divide with units on your answer. So picture is part of it, setting it up is part of it. There wasn't any algebra really to set up for this one. It was just that one step, so that's why we're dividing by 5 up there. But this one did have a variable, so we wanted to solve for that. There's one just like this on the test. Can we handle that? Okay, there's one like this on the test as well. Now, a lot of you are able to do this in your head, and that's great, but it impresses me more when you're able to show your work and show me all of the steps in the right order. So we still need 3 lines of work on this one because it's an area problem. Okay, the top 2 were perimeter questions, so you don't have the 3 lines of work. But we have area of a triangle, so we're going to draw a triangle. Can be any triangle, it could be a right triangle, isosceles. Just draw a triangle. We know the area is 36, and we know the base is 6. And they want us to find the height. So you could put an H there or an X there. You have to have a picture to go along with it. What are our 3 lines of work? First step. And our 3 lines of work, what's step 1? For this shape, what's the formula? It's very common for kids to forget the 1/2 on the triangle, so please try to pay attention to that. Now we need to put in what we know. Do we know A? Yeah, we do. Okay, they told us that. It's 36. Do we know the base? They told us it's 6. Do we know the height? We don't know. We put our H in there, or X, whatever letter you want. And now we just need to solve for h. We can simplify the right-hand side a little bit. What would it be? 3h. You can multiply those because they're all being multiplied together. So you can put those two together. 1/2 times 6 is 3. Last step. And we need units. Centimeters. Okay, there's a little bit more than 3 lines of work here because we had to show our work for solving for h. But please, please, please make sure you get a minimum of the equation, the numbers put in, and your answer. That is bare minimum. Questions?